7-0. Gators on top of the Gamecocks here in Columbia. Week 10 is upon us in the NFL. We'll have you covered tomorrow morning. NFL Insider Sunday edition starts at 10 Eastern, followed by Sunday NFL Countdown at 11. One of the topics that Boomer and the boys will debate is the hit on Vikings quarterback Terry Bridgewater last week, whether all quarterbacks are being treated equally in the NFL. Sunday NFL Countdown, 11 a.m., preceded by NFL Insider Sunday edition at 10. I know they're all paid well. I'm not sure about treated equally. Harris takes the direct snap, throws the out. Callaway.
And that seems right there.
Up at the 34.
You know, that seems like a simple thing, and it is. It's just a quick hitch. It's got to be thrown on time and accurately. But if Harris can continue to make those types of throws, at least you have something that's going to pick up. You know, that's a second and long. Now you get to third and short, which you can do anything offensively. Be surprised if Florida does more than run the ball here, as South Carolina brings all their big bodies, fresh big bodies in. But being able to make that throw on time and accurately is a really positive thing. Seems simple, but it's something you just have to have.
3rd and inches. Taylor. Second effort. Got it for him. Let's go to the studio for an update.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Just want to update you what's happening. Ohio State taking on Illinois. This is J.T. Barrett to Michael Thomas. Barrett's back in the saddle, and Thomas's 4th straight game with a touchdown. It's 7-0 for the Buckeyes on ABC. Mike, back to you.
Adnan, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Be checking in with Adnan Virk all day for updates from around college football. A lot of good ball games on the docket.
This is a big one as you look at South Carolina needing a kind of signature win after the change of Steve Spurrier.
Harris on the run, drops it off to Cronkrite.
But if you think of the college football playoff, I went through a couple of weeks ago. They flew some colleagues flew to Dallas, and we went through the playoff scenario and how you vote. There is no way in the world, I don't care how ugly 12-1 is. If Jim McElwain in Florida is 12-1 and they've won the SEC championship, they'll be in the college football playoff. Now, with that, if they get a second loss, say here today, it gets a little more interesting depending on what happens to the Big 12, Pac-12. But they went out and they're in.
Cronkrite sidesteps the first defender. Looks like Kelsey Griffin had him in the backfield and missed him.
But there's just no way, given Florida's schedule. Tennessee, Ole Miss, they beat a very good Ole Miss team. A tight loss to LSU, blew out Georgia, a good win against South Carolina. Remember, Florida plays Florida State at the end of the year before the SEC championship game, so it doesn't have to be pretty. Florida wins out, and I think they're in.
Well, last week certainly wasn't pretty. They barely beat a Vanderbilt team 9-7. First time in almost 50 years that they scored under 10 points and won a game. Great job by Harris. He just kept shedding tacklers one after the other until he got to the outside and made the first down.
It looked like he was going to be stopped about 3 times.
Yep.
And this is not something Doug Nussmeier and Jim McElwain want in their offense. They do not want to be a run-heavy quarterback run-heavy offense. But Harris gives you that ability. And Nussmeier kind of, when we were talking to him this week, he kind of started suggesting they may have a few more quarterback runs they'll call. They don't like to call them. They want it to be a running back, run-based offense. That's what McElwain has always done. But this guy does give you a little extra wrinkle. Terrific job.
They have gained more yards on the ground than South Carolina has total so far in this one. Harris on the play action. Hangs in the pocket too high for Callaway and nearly intercepted by the diving Isaiah Johnson.
Yeah, Callaway, this ball hung up there. The longer throws are the challenge here.
The longer
for
throws are really tough for him. He has thrown underneath. He's thrown with more pace.
Yeah, and these are Gamecock arms. Gamecocks don't have arms, so that's not even Gator arms. He pulls them back, but you can't blame the young man. You're going to go up there and he says, oh, be tough, go over the middle. That ball's high. It's going to be nearly an impossible catch anyway. With a guy with this much upside, I don't blame 81 for pulling it down and coming back to play another day.
No, somebody's got a chance to light him up like a Christmas tree.
And it would have been a nearly impossible catch anyway. That was a good choice.
When Harris throws deep, it's exciting. Under a lot of pressure here, throws underneath. That'll be about 4 yards shy of a first down, complete to Jake McGee, who transferred from Virginia last year, got hurt, and had to sit out. Now he is taking his quote-unquote 5th year.
A little bit of pressure finally coming for Harris. Gets a nice shot from Kelsey Griffin. But Harris threw the ball on time, and now you get to a 3rd and manageable. Remember, Florida goes for it a ton on 4th down, especially on this part of the field. And so I'm not sure you need it all here. You may want to take a shot down the middle and see what happens.
Kelvin Taylor is back in. Taylor. They love that little bit of eye candy in that formation where they send Powell across the formation. And, of course, that draws the attention of the linebackers, and then they counter it by going the other way.
Well, that was a down and distance where Florida really could have done anything. What an awesome read by Kelvin Taylor. That play was defended, and then it wasn't because Taylor was patient. Of course, his dad, Fred, one of the best runners ever in the game, both collegiately and in the NFL.
Wasn't
this
he
guy,
ever?
that right there looked like his dad. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a running back is stop, and that's what he did there.
So I remember his dad was bigger, about 220, and just tougher nails. Harris with time. Lobs one downfield. That's complete to Goolsby. DeAndre Goolsby, a backup tight end, makes his 15th catch of the year and gains 29. There is a flag down, however.
Treon Harris sometimes looks darn good throwing the ball. There's been a couple that have floated, but this one was a screen over to Taylor, which was open, but his second read was Goolsby, and he dropped it right in there. I think there might have been, because of the screen, some of the offensive linemen downfield.
Ineligible receiver downfield on the offense, number 30. He was covered up by the end man on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
So somebody besides Goolsby made the mistake because he was going to be one of the primary receivers on this play.
So here's Goolsby, and because this wide receiver is on the line of scrimmage, it makes the guy on the end of the line of scrimmage like he's the offensive tackle, makes him ineligible. So what Goolsby needed to do, it looked to me like he needed to line up in the wing position instead of being on the line of scrimmage. He looked like he was kind of in between there, and you can see there, knowing that that was just an alignment mistake by Goolsby that just cost them a big play.
Quarterback draw. Harris jukes the first 2 defenders. Reaches the South Carolina 36. The line to make is the 30. And Isaiah Johnson, the transfer from Kansas, who was voted one of the permanent captains in 2 months after being on the roster, made that stop.
And he might get ready for a little more Treon Harris run game. I know that Florida does not want to be a quarterback run-based offense, but Harris gives you so much more than you had with Will Grier, and, of course, a little different in the pass game. With the true runner out, don't be surprised if Harris gets his number called again.
It's the second long drive for the Gators. They scored on a 15-play drive. This has already been 10. Harris under pressure this time, and down he goes. Gerald Dixon, number 44, hit him first and then got help.
Dixon holding his right hand as he comes out of the pile. See if he's okay. Terrific coverage because the pocket was there. The pocket was there until the very end when Gerald Dixon comes in. We got 2 half-brothers, Gerald Dixon and Gerald Dixon Jr., sons of Gerald Dixon Sr., who played here for years and in the NFL. Both guys making plays so far today.
And how about this? Big 3rd down and 11. 4-man rush. Pressure. Harris gets away. Floats another one downfield and caught. Cronkrite, his second touchdown of the day. That ball hung up forever and somehow got through for the touchdown.
And I think Tim McElwain just breathed a gigantic sigh of relief because that looked like all the world that this was an interception by Chris Lamons. I mean, Lamons has it in his hands, and Cronkrite continued to work back towards the ball and took it away from him. And this is a really good job by Treon Harris, because it would have been 4th and 11. They're probably punting where they were on the field, so forcing the ball was not a bad idea by Harris there.
But he's been very lucky with results. He has thrown the ball up for grabs, and at least until this point has certainly gotten away with it. And the Gators sporting a 14-0 lead. Best line about the SEC I ever heard was, every game is like a knife fight in a ditch. And it's true. Last 30 plays in this game, 27 of them have been run by Florida. 27 out of 30. Rashad Fenton, ball's loose. And South Carolina has recovered it. Later today on ESPN, a pair of games with playoff implications. 3:30 Eastern, number 8 Oklahoma State against Iowa State, presented by Cars.com. Then number 9 LSU trying to bounce back against Arkansas at 7:15. That's presented by Hilton Hotels. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
I don't know.
Big break there for Fenton as he fumbled the ball and they got it back.
It was recovered by his tight end, Kyle Markway. I was going to say, I don't know that I've seen a defensive front play as well as I did see Alabama play last week against Fournette.
Perry Orth brings them out, gives to David Williams his first carry of the day. And let's check in with Jerry Punch.
Mike, not a good news for the Gator faithful. Alex McAllister came out early on. They evaluated the right knee and right ankle. Dr. Michael Moser, the orthopedic surgeon, they retaped the right ankle. He tried to walk, couldn't put a lot of weight, took him to the locker room. He has just come back out here with a boot on that right lower leg on crutches, done for the day.
All right, Doc, thanks so much. South Carolina now has to be getting a little desperate to get something going on offense. Orth with the deep out, nice grab at the sideline. Pharaoh Cooper, who came into this ball game with 48 catches. That's he was averaging 72.9 yards a game as well, at number 3 in the SEC. And they try to move him all over the field. They've got him lined up in the slot now, makes it harder to jam him. Blitz coming off the corner. Float it in the flat to Brandon Wilds. And Wilds makes a man miss. Across the 35 to the 37-yard line. Nice run by Brandon Wilds. 16-yard catch and run play for the Gamecocks.
Well, the blitz came, and it was picked up inside. The running back that slides over there is David Williams, and it was a really nice, accurate throw. Keanu Neal, who had a foot injury, comes over to make the hit on Wilds. Doesn't make the tackle, but Neal, Gator fans not sure he was going to be able to play with a foot injury. But that was a nice throw by Orth. It was on time and accurate, allowing Wilds to outrun Antonio Morrison, who was in coverage from the middle linebacker spot.
Last throw was intended for Hurd. There's Neal.
Yeah, Florida was thinking they may be out without 2 starters. Bullard, who's awfully good in the middle, and Neal, who's the most physical presence in their secondary. Good that they have both those guys back.
Cooper takes the direct snap. Nothing there as the Gators were ready for it.
Well, first down has just been disastrous for South Carolina. They have averaged well under 1 yard per first down, and you can't be that far behind the sticks. The term behind the sticks means you get the 2nd and 3rd down instead of 3rd and 3. It's 3rd and 8 because you've burned that first down. On first down, 6 plays, minus 2 yards for South Carolina today.
Orth won another screen. This is a tight end screen to Jarrell Adams. And Keanu Neal came up to make the tackle.
Well, I think with the secondary that Florida has, maybe the best in the country. Ohio State's is awfully good. Clemson is awfully good. We've seen them. But this may be the best secondary. Right now, G.A. Mangus, the offensive coordinator who's promoted full-time once Steve Spurrier stepped down, but playing it awfully conservative, going with a tight end screen on 3rd and 11. But I think a lot of that is just feeling like the way Florida is playing, we may throw an interception.
Sean Kelly, terrible kick. Gets a great bounce, however. That thing was never more than 4 feet off the ground.
Would you like to change your adjective?
No, it was a terrible kick.
Effective.
It was a great bounce. 45-yard kick and no return. Florida ball when we come back.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Cadillac. And Dr. Pepper and college football, it's a one-of-a-kind tradition.
The Riverbank Zoo and Garden right here in Columbia opened 41 years ago, twice been awarded the Governor's Cup for South Carolina's most outstanding tourist attraction. I was once told, do not pet the giraffes. I asked why, and I was told they don't like it.
Boy, that zoo takes a lot of pride in their zoo.
Oh, please. Gators start from their 15. Taylor. That's 2 and no more.
Hasn't really been able to pop many this year as the offensive line matures a bit and they start to get a little more recruiting angle towards getting big guys up front on offense and defense. At Florida will get better, but they really want to just keep attacking your edge. We were talking to Jim McElwain. Spent a year at Fresno State under Pat Hill as the offensive coordinator. He talked about how Pat Hill taught him so much about the run game, but a lot of it was just about an attitude, making it really the foundation of your program. So they won't go away from it.
4-man rush, which hasn't generated a lot of pressure, but Harris takes off. Didn't stay in the pocket very long that time. Gets out to the 20. It will bring up a 3rd and 5. And the one thing the South Carolina defense would love to do is get off the field.
Haven't been able to stop much so far, and the way that their offenses have played, especially on 1st down, starting to get a little tuckered, I would think, with 4:20 left here in the first half. That's a lot of ball these guys have played in black jerseys on kind of a warm day.
Crowd trying to get into it. Good turnout here. Hasn't been a home game in the stadium because of the flooding since late September. 5 men comes. Nobody gets there. Pass batted down underneath. Rico McWilliams played that very, very well. He wasn't going to let anything short happen.
And McWilliams was up the entire time. That's press coverage on Demarcus Robinson, who ran a decent route. Didn't get much off the sticks. You'd want to maybe have him push McWilliams a little farther beyond before coming back. But McWilliams been pressed the whole way. Was all over the Gator receiver.
Cooper is deep. Florida has had terrific cover teams all year long. Nice punt. Cooper has to chase it all the way back to the 22. Got a block on the corner. Got another block. And that's going to be a block in the back. 2 flags down on that one. The first one was legal. The second one looked iffy. And as it turned out, it was worse than iffy.
And what the officials are looking at, that's Belton, who's a wide receiver. Matrick Belton. But what the officials are taught to look at for blocking the back is where does the defensive player land? If he lands on his chest or stomach, it's blocking the back. If he lands on his side or his back, it's blocking the front.
They're discussing this among themselves.
Illegal block in the back, number 15 during the return. Penalty is 10 yards. First down.
So the first block you saw right by the punt returner, the guy landed on his side. This one, not so much. Very clearly, number 26, Marcel Harris, lands right on his tummy. That's penalty.
Welcome back to college football on ESPN. We've got a 14-0 Florida lead. It's presented by Cars.com. Our Aflac trivia question today. Kelvin Taylor tied for the most rushing touchdowns, 9 in SEC games by a Florida running back since 1997. With whom is he tied?
I'll have a guess here in a moment.
Are they as good as your other guesses? Or are we getting better?
I think I've gotten 0 this year.
Well, then you'd have to get better. And Orth will just get rid of that before he's buried back at the 5.
You cannot have 0 or less yards on first down against a defense like this. You can say all you want about Will Muschamp and what he did and didn't do at Florida. What he did was he built a pretty good defense. And these coaches from Florida have been very vocal about the type of guy that was left behind, their work ethic. And Jeff Collins, the defensive coordinator, I think did a really smart thing. He learned their language. He learned Florida's language, Muschamp's language, so that these young men could learn faster and go faster through spring and summer. And boy, has it paid off.
Pass underthrown, intercepted. Picked off by Jalen Tabor. His 3rd pick of the season and the only one that hasn't been returned for a touchdown. He just got right in front of the receiver, and Orth threw it to him.
Well, Hargraves leads the team on the other side with 4 INTs, so Tabor's trying to make it a competition. But this ball, Tabor just never moved. He sat on his spot, and when Orth finally came back over to that side looking for Hayden Hurst, it was too late. And unfortunately for South Carolina, their slow starts, never having led a game this season. The best they had was tied against Texas A&M at half. Once again, looking like they're going to limp into halftime, down, if not 14, maybe more.
And the Gators have lived off of their defense and turnovers. Plus 10 for the year. Going for more from behind, the sack. Back at the 27-yard line as Harris never saw the defensive end coming.
And now if you're Sean Elliott, the interim head coach at South Carolina, with 3 timeouts here, not right now, but finally getting some pressure, just blitzing 4. They have not been able to do that. But at some point, Sean Elliott may want to consider starting to use some of those timeouts. You're down 2 scores. Every possession is going to count in the second half. Your offense has not played well. You may want to start thinking, if Florida's going to slow play it here and looking to kick a field goal, although they're not good at that, so clearly they're thinking to get in the end zone.
And the Gators having a tough time lining up. They're going to have to burn the timeout to make sure they have the right formation. Gators in control here at South Carolina. Here's the answer to our Aflac trivia question, which was Kelvin Taylor tied for the most rushing touchdowns, 9 of them in SEC games by a Florida running back since 1996.
Come on, I've got this one. Fred Taylor. Look at that. Hey, I'm 1 for 10.
No, you're not. You're 0 for 10 because we already gave you the answer during the commercial. What's interesting about this, somebody gave you the answer last night at the production meeting, and you forgot it. So this should count as 2 losses. You're 0 for 11.
Fred with a terrific career. Of course, went on to the Jacksonville Jaguars and helped build that franchise into a near championship group with a quarterback named Mark Brunell from the University of Washington. Love to get a Brunell plug in there. Former teammate.
2nd and 19. Complete inside the 5 to DeAndre Goolsby. Another pass that floated, but somehow they get there.
Goolsby, a guy who they've been challenging some in the run game to block a little better, but he is a special talent in the throw game. What a terrific catch. And that time, he didn't have the mental error of being lined up improperly, so that time he was an eligible receiver. And all of a sudden, this game just starting to get away from the Gamecocks. Don't go into shell shock here, though. You're down right now 2 scores, maybe 3, but maybe start to think about getting some time back. If Florida's going to burn a little bit of clock here, you may want to try to save some for your offense.
Cronkrite is in as the tailback. He's already scored both touchdowns. Going for his 3rd here, but won't even get to the 5. Harris has completed 11 of 19 for 164 yards. They haven't exactly been lasers.
The short and intermediate stuff, he throws very well. He's got good balance in the pocket. The offensive line has played much better today than they did last week against Vanderbilt. So starting to find an offense. And
The thing I like about him, he'll hang in that pocket for a long time, even when it starts to collapse, looking for a receiver. Harris on a little half roll, still looking, and makes the smart decision and throws it away.
And remember, for Florida, this is a place where Jim McElwain will almost certainly go for it on 4th down. He did last week against Vanderbilt. They were 0 for 3 last week on 4th down because of the kicking woes, but it's something that he's done going all the way back to his Colorado State days. So this is a down where you could think about some type of run potentially.
Austin Harden, number 16, is their normal kicker. Neil McGinnis, who they call the dentist, is the short kicker.
It's a pre-dental student that they found in a campus tryout a couple weeks ago.
Harris in trouble. Survives, then throws the pick. Intercepted by T.J. Gurley, who was standing at right on the goal line, and Harris hit him in the chest.
Well, this was not the result you wanted. You had a chance to go up 3 possessions if you're Florida. And Gurley, who had a wonderful play earlier in the game where he knocked away a ball that was intended for the corner, and this ball just forced by Harris. If anything, throw that thing away and see what happens on 4th down. If that's 4th down, I understand forcing it, but you obviously don't want to force it on 3rd. But now, for South Carolina, the question is down to a minute with 3 timeouts. They're in the shadow of their own goalpost and not been able to generate any kind of run game. Maybe Florida could think about using some of their timeouts to get the ball back.
And that Florida defensive line is really firing through there, as well as the linebacker, Jared Davis, number 40. Now let's check in with Adnan Virk.
All right, coming up on the Alexis Halftime Report, Mike, we'll be talking with the fact J.T. Barrett is back for Ohio State. Trevon Boykin right now for TCU banged up a little bit. An update on his condition as they're facing a huge underdog in Kansas. And also Dalvin Cook making history for Florida State. That's coming up at the half. Back to you guys.
Adnan, thanks. We'll look forward to it. Perry Orth.
Well, they're doing a smart job because Florida, I think, is going to use their timeouts after this down. And this is a good job by South Carolina to eat some of this clock. I'd be shocked if Florida doesn't take a timeout here. Why not make South Carolina punt the ball if you can?
Wild got out to the 5 clock, still running.
I'm surprised that Jim McElwain wouldn't use those timeouts and at least force South Carolina to punt. What's the worst that can happen? You could get a block. You could get some type of big play in the kicking game. It seems like leaving those 2 out there would have been a help.
At the half, our score, Florida 14, South Carolina nothing. Now we send you back to Adnan Virk for the Lexus Halftime Report.